All right, we will now get started. Thank you all so much for coming. Welcome to the virtual Pasadena Senior Center and the Cynthia Rosedale Memorial Sports Talk series, Ask the Athletes. I am Annie Lasky, the Director of Events at the Pasadena Senior Center. I'm also the manager of the Pasadena Senior Games, which, as many of you know, I am sorry to announce will not be able to go forward in 2021. Although we do have hopes that other California Senior Games scheduled for later this year will take place. The San Diego Senior Games will be the California State Games this year, so cross your fingers they will go forward in the late summer, early fall as scheduled. Just keep posted. For the Pasadena Senior Center, we are an independent, nonprofit, donor-supported organization. We rely on our partners, donors, and members to be able to continue bringing you programming such as this. This program is named in honor of one of the Senior Center's staunchest supporters, whose legacy continues to fund our programs. Cynthia Rosedale was the longtime director of events at the Pasadena Senior Center. A tireless advocate for senior wellness, Cynthia brought the Pasadena Senior Games to the center in 1994, when these athletic competitions for older adults were just beginning to spread across the nation. While we are still limited in what we can do safely in person, we celebrate Cynthia's power and vision by connecting virtually. Ask the Athletes is co-presented by the California Senior Games Association with assistance from the San Diego Senior Games. Thank you, Anne and Kirsten. It's a total joy to work with you both. It's really fun to put these together. We have sessions scheduled on second Mondays all the way through to December. On April 12th, we will be featuring cycling, and May 10th will highlight women's basketball. And we hope that you will join us for these. Now to the program at hand. During the presentation, audience microphones will be muted, but you're welcome to put your questions and observations in the chat. When the formal part of the panel discussion is finished, you'll have a chance to unmute at the end as part of the audience Q&A. If any of you have problems with reception, the recording of this program will be posted later on the California Senior Games Association website, californiaseniorgames.org. And we'll also be posting it on the Pasadena Senior Center website, pasadena-senior-center.org. It is now my privilege to introduce the moderator of today's program, Anne Warner-Cribbs. She is the chair of the California Senior Games Association, head of the Bay Area Senior Games and Encore Games. She is also, specific for today, an Olympic swimmer competing in the 1960 Games in Rome. So please welcome Anne Cribbs. And all right, you should be on, Anne.
I'm on now. Thank you for unmuting me, and I will turn over the admitting the people and to you, Annie, now. Thanks for the introduction. I am excited as a swimmer, an old swimmer, to be here today because I really twisted the arms of all my swimming friends to get them to appear on this panel. And when we did the first one of these back in January, somebody made the remark that, boy, we had the royalty of track and field here, which was a combination of Dick Fosbury and Willie Banks, and a wonderful javelin thrower with lots and lots of Senior Games records, Linda Cohen. Well, I would submit today we have the royalty of swimming, both Olympic swimming and masters swimming, all the way from participants to judges to meet organizers. And so I think it's going to be really fun, and it's always great when swimmers get together as well. So I wanted to mention that I am the chair of the California Senior Games Association. We represent 8 games up and down the state starting in February and moving to across the calendar to December. It's anybody's guess that we will have games this year, but we have our fingers crossed, as Annie says, that we'll be able to host games in San Diego and also the Encore Games in late fall. We represent 14,000 athletes engaged in at least 20 sports, and they are ages 50 plus, both men and women, very passionate about their athletics and competition. And the question that I get most on the email or by phone is, when are you going to open up? When are we going to be able to get back to competition? So it's really great. So now let me turn it over to this group of panelists. I'm going to just arbitrarily start with Michael Moore. Michael, I'd like to put you on first, and let me tell you guys a little bit about Michael Moore. He's a colleague of mine since, oh my gosh, maybe 2003 or 4 when I first met him. He was tapped and volunteered, I think, to run the FINA World Masters Championship, which, as most of you know, is 5 aquatic disciplines: swimming, synchronized swimming, water polo, open water, and diving. We had about 70, maybe 8,000 participants from around the world converging on Stanford University for a 2-week long festival of aquatics with open water out in Alameda. It was a spectacular event. We all have great memories. I even entered at one point and was really glad that I had entered, because I could say to people, you can't ask me a question now because I'm doing my warm-ups. I have to concentrate on my race. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael now, who is not only an incredible organizer, a good friend, a referee, and also a master swimmer. So I'm always so inspired to be with Michael. Michael, your first question. Tell us about your athletic career and what you're doing now.
My athletic career, oh gee. You know, like probably everybody else, I learned swimming in Red Cross, but really didn't start master swimming till I was about 35. And there it was like, okay, you swim. And I found that to be, I liked it because you're swimming with pretty much a group of people that you swim with all the time. Swim in San Francisco for, oh gee, you know, from 30, we moved up here in Reno, you know, in 14, and then I've been up here now full-time for a full year. And what it's meant to me is, you know, just being in shape and how you work with this. And one of the things that happened is, starting about 2015, I started getting slower in my lane. And, you know, everybody's going about the same time. And you go from almost leading the lane to the mid-pack to being the caboose. And what it was is I was having some heart issues. And so, you know, and they hear, okay, here, you got to have this major operation. They're going to replace a valve and do some other stuff. And some of my friends said, well, you know, you've been swimming a lot. You know, you're gonna have a good time with, well, not necessarily a good time, but it'll be very successful. And you kind of wonder about that. But it went well. I think a lot of it happened just because of swimming all the time. And one of the things a couple of things that happened was, you know, I was in the hospital for a week. And in order to get out of the hospital, you have to climb 5 stairs. And you can climb 5 stairs, then you go back down. Well, in San Francisco House, there's 21 stairs in the front and 18 stairs in the back. And so coming home from the hospital, it's like, all right, did 12 stairs. Like, wait a second, I got nothing else to do. Wait a second, I've done things like this before. I went up to the top, sat down in the chair that was right at the top. And some of that was just because you're used to being a little bit out of breath. But also some of the things that happened was that, you know, you're supposed to walk. And so you walk from the front of the house to the back of the house to the front of the house. I figured, okay, I'm going to do this 10 times. Well, after 3, it's like, well, I'm going to break this into sets. There was just no air, just nothing to do. But I think that because of swimming in somewhat good condition, and you're just used to doing things like this. I was out of the water for about 3 months. Before I could get back in. When I got back in, I did something really stupid. I swam the butterfly for about I don't know, 12 yards. And when they cracked the sternum here, and I could feel it kind of move a little. And that has since given me a reason not to do the butterfly for the past 6 years or 5 years. So, that's pretty much, my story. And, lucky up here being in Reno that we are able to swim 6 to a lane, and very fortunate. Whereas I know a lot of places in California, it's 1 and 2 to a lane. So.
Well, Michael, I really appreciate not only hearing that story, but also all the great work that you do and you have done for Master Swimming. I mean, really folks like you who make Master Swimming what it is today and make us all love it. And besides, Michael's always encouraging when he talks to me and says, when you get in the water, how much yardage did you do? So anyhow, thanks for that. I'm going to move on to Daniela now. And I think I first met Daniela about the same time that I met Michael. We both live in Palo Alto, and there was this amazing swimmer who kept breaking records and kept swimming, and there were television crews who came out to Stanford and were chasing after her and everything. And it just is amazing to me what she's done with her swimming life. So Daniela, I know that it's challenging to find a pool now in the time of COVID, but talk a little bit about before COVID, where you swam, and maybe tell us a little bit about how many of those records you have, because it's pretty remarkable. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I grew up in Israel and in Jerusalem and learned to swim in the Mediterranean. We didn't have many pools around, and schools didn't have pools. So I learned to swim in the Big Sea, and then later on in the YMCA, which was a 20 by 8 meter pool with very few other swimmers. It was not popular. But when I came here, I found that there's a pool everywhere you go. Every school has a pool, and every city has a master's program. So it was very wonderful to be able to join again. I did swim for many years, and then when my kids started to swim in clubs here and in high school, I went to all the meets and joined, and it kind of got me to start again. I wanted to see if I can beat them. So I joined the Stanford Masters program, swim laps basically, until one of the coaches asked if I was going to the meet in Berkeley that weekend. And I said, me to a meet? I'm not good enough to swim in a meet. And they said, well, everybody can swim in a meet. You just have to show up. So I decided I'll try it. And I went and I was sitting next to a group of another team. And one of the ladies came out after swimming 100 butterfly. And I said, all the honor to you. Wow, 100-meter butterfly. And she said, oh, I can't wait till next year. I said, why is next year? She said she'll be 80 and then she will be the youngest in the age group and then she'll break the record. I said, what a great approach to swimming, you know? And I said, well, that's something to think about. And I started to join the meets. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the adrenaline. I wanted to every meet to improve my times. And it was something really that kept me going. I got to a point where I just was waiting for the next meet, although getting anxious and kind of nervous before each meet. I just really enjoyed seeing the improvement that that I made by just swimming laps back and forth. I was swimming 7 days a week and miss it obviously very much now that I can't. I was 7 months out of the water and going back seems pretty difficult, but I'm definitely looking forward. When I turned 50, I was asked to join the senior games. I said, me? I'm not a senior yet. I couldn't quite face that. I said, no, not yet. And 10 years later, I joined when I saw Social Security coming up. I figured out, well, now I'm officially getting to be a senior.
Well, Daniel, we love your stories. I love seeing you at the pool, and I love the idea of master swimming. It's exciting to be the youngest in your age group, as opposed to age group swimming. When I remember turning from 8 to 9 and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to swim against all those big kids. So pretty fun to think about that. And you just are a legend. I mean, when I was doing the Google search, I found this wonderful article in the New York Times about Danielle and these incredible legends of people. And one of the comments that you made, I think, were I just want to be first. So I love that.
I don't want to be another Mark Spitz or Phelps, but I want to be me and first.
I want to be first. I like that a lot. So thank you for that. I want to go to John Neighbor right now. I'm so excited that I was able to twist John's arm to have him here. Gosh, what can I say, John, except for tell us what you're doing now in terms of swimming, and a little bit about your athletic career, which has been legendary for sure. I mean, I've always looked up to you as the great swimmer that you've always been. And I understand that you are one of the people to be on Mount Rushmore. If they put swimmers on Mount Rushmore, John Neighbor would have a place in that configuration of great swimmers. So I don't even know where I'd start. And when I Googled you, it was like way too much to even talk about, but talk about swimming a little bit, John.
Okay, first of all, the Mount Rushmore comment is as a result of an article that appeared in this month's Swimming World magazine, where they were talking about NCAA Division I swimmers with the most titles. And Tracy Calkins, Natalie Coughlin, Pablo Morales, and myself were listed as the top 4. So I don't have a jaw of granite, but I'm awfully honored to have been put on that Mount Rushmore.
Wow, well, all great swimmers as well. Amazing, just amazing.
Very, very nice of you to mention that. Swimming, let me backtrack. I don't think, I know that I'm not a great athlete. I know that I'm not even the best athlete in my family. First day at Woodside High School, because I was so tall, was the first kid picked for basketball. On the second day of high school PE, I was the last kid picked for basketball. Just being tall, I couldn't dribble, shoot, bounce, rebound or anything. I just didn't have it. But in the water, I found my element. And early on, I learned to enjoy it for its own sake. I loved the feeling of floating. I felt like I was swimming. I felt like I was flying over the bottom of the pool. I didn't feel like I was fighting the water. I was just coasting. And it's that inherent value of swimming that I enjoy still to this day. I am not a masters swimmer. I don't compete anymore. But I am, I guess, getting older. When Stanford played USC in football this year, there was nobody in the stands, but the game was on TV. And they did put up a banner headline of great USC athletes throughout history. And I was honored to be on the list, but very sad to find out that I was the oldest one on the list. And though I look in the mirror and I don't think I see a guy that old, but I did turn 65 this year, and I normally would regret it, but this time it allowed me to get the vaccine. So I'm okay. I'm happy with that. So turning 65 was a bonus for me this year. But what I do love, I did get back into the pool, started swimming laps maybe 3 times a week, about 3,000 yards a workout. And the joy of it was not, hey, I completed 3,000. The joy of it was I got to see the same 4 or 5 people who were in my age group, and we had wonderful conversations on the wall in between sets. I don't know, Karen, you're on the call. You swam with me at Ladera. You might recall that I was, well, I don't know if I was, but I remember it being a very chatty workout. A lot of joke telling, a lot of storytelling, a lot of poking of fun. And that's what I enjoy, that the social element of it. So COVID ripped the guts out of that for us. Pasadena's Rose Bowl Aquatic Center is open again, but only 2 swimmers per lane, but they have to stop on opposite ends of the pool. So it's very hard to strike up a conversation. And that's the thing I miss the most. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most. So,
You know, John, it's interesting that you say what you say about swimming and gliding through the water and all of that, because I feel like we're all kind of water people, and I was pretty bad on dry land, but pretty much okay, you know, in the water. And every time I get in the water, I just feel like that's home to me. And I know that a lot of people who, you know, don't swim don't feel comfortable in the water, and it's always a sadness for me that they don't. And I would love to be able to help them all feel like we all feel when we get into the water. So, John, could you talk a little bit about the 76 Olympics and your role there?
okay, statistically speaking, that might be viewed by many as the greatest single gender swimming team ever assembled in any
Yep.
Olympic Games, because in 13 events, the American men were unable to win 1 of the gold, 1 of the silver, and 6 of the bronze. We swept gold, silver, bronze so many times that the International Swimming Committee changed the rules. At the next Olympic meeting, only 2 athletes per country were allowed to enter in each event. And so what the American men did, the East German women did pretty much the same. They dominated. And so the international swimming, I'm the reason why America, I'm part of the reason why America can no longer sweep all 3 medals in an individual swimming event the way they could in track and field today. So I was very proud of being part of that. 4 golds and the silver. Every event broke a world record but 1. Mark Spitz's 100-meter butterfly record survived the Montreal onslaught, but fell the following year to Joe Bottom, I believe. So anyway, a lot of wonderful memories there. And I'm sad to report that one of the Montreal Olympic team members, Janice Hape, breaststroker on that team, passed away just this week of a heart failure due to chemo that she endured to fight breast cancer a few years ago. So she looked great. She had great family. It came on rather quickly, and that was a very sad part. And I think now we're all at the age where some of our friends are not going to be with us all the time. So it's good that we're doing the best we can do to make sure that we push back the rages of time.
Yep, always good to hug your friends, you know.
Yep.
And that's the sad thing about COVID, is that we haven't been able to do that. So Zoom is a not so much of a consolation, but at least it counts for
There's something.
something.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, there are people on this call who are obviously interested in swimming, but people who might want to get into the swimming world from another sport. Daniela, what advice would you give swimmers, any kind of a swimmer, to get in shape, stay in shape, training tips, that kind of thing? What are some of the tricks and tips that you use?
Well, I make it a point that nothing would stop me from going to a workout, not the weather, not any aches or pains, that there's no excuses. I just go to a workout. And also in a workout, I find that if I don't do in a workout well, then that transfers to a swimming. I'm working on my turns, try to not make them sloppy, but do them right, push from the wall as hard as I can, and work on my technique. As we get older, the speed is harder to achieve. It's like, technically, I think working more would not give me as much as if I work right, if I work on the technique to get me going forward. And I think keeping that in mind helps me a lot to be in shape and to do well in the swimming. I always look forward to improve. I had a great year last year, broke in one meet 6 Pacific records and 4 national records, and the world record in the butterfly, which is to me really was a surprise. I grew up swimming in Israel and Europe. You start with breaststroke, so I didn't know any of the other strokes, and actually now my breaststroke is it's very good, but I cannot get to do the best times or break the records. I found out that I need to move to other strokes, and I enjoy taking some lessons from good coaches and join clinics. And I've been really doing well with a mid distance, 200, 400, and butterfly in the IM. And yeah, working on my breaststroke too, but it's just being persistent and keep doing and joining. I look at videos. I'm a visual learner, and I find that looking on good swimmers, Olympian swimmers, how they swim helps me a lot to improve my stroke. And
Well, I love what you said about practice, and I love what you said about the weather, the no excuses, and persistence. I think those are all, obviously great qualities and good things to talk about. Michael, what about you in terms of training tips? What things have helped you in your master's swimming career?
Well, one is, I think it's important to go where you like to go. If you're surrounded by good people in a lot of you in your lane, they're a fun group to be with. And if you don't show up, you're noticed. You said, well, where were you? 2 days ago, we missed you. And as I get older, as we all get older, it's more concentrating on technique and trying to do it right. I think for a lot of years, it just was personally very sloppy, but now it's, I've got to work on getting the hand in correctly, trying to be flat. And a lot of that is just having a good coach to work with you and to let you know that where you need to improve. And I think that's probably 2 of the most important things. Go where you can have fun and have a good coach.
Yeah, good advice. Very good advice. Are you mostly swimming the 500 and the distance things still?
In past year and a half, haven't swum much at all. And right now, with the lanes being so crowded, 125 is almost a distance event. Swimming in laps. I kind of like more the 500s and the distance than the short.
I remember
sprint.
when I first met you, you said that I just love the 500. It's just great. It's such a great race. So just want to check and see if that was still going on.
Still a good event.
Good. And John, training tips. What do you think from your vast experience?
I found a little trick that works for me. I don't know if it'll work for everybody, but if I wanted to go swim on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, on Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, I don't say, I'm going to go swim tomorrow morning. I say, I'm going to get out of bed and put on my shoes.
Oh.
Once my shoes are on, I might as well go ahead and walk to the car. And since I'm in the car, I might as well go to the pool. I just break down the big goal into small chunks. And so now every time I put on my shoes, I feel like I'm accomplishing something and I don't want to give it back. I don't retreat. Now that my shoes are on, well, I can't go back to bed. I gotta go. So that's a cute little trick that I like.
I like that. It's
Thank
good.
you. The other thing I like is looking at somebody else. If I have somebody in an adjacent lane or a group ahead of me, it makes a world of difference. Just to have people, I don't know why, maybe it's an audience or an accountability issue, but swimming alone, and I've gone swimming by myself sometimes, and it never works out to the same degree. I don't feel like I exerted myself. So if you can pick up the phone and call a friend and say, let's go work out together, makes a huge, huge difference.
Good, good. Well, I remember sitting at the Santa Clara International meet, John, with you, and who was there? We were watching the 200 backstroke.
Was this in Santa Clara?
Was at Santa Clara, and we were watching the times and seeing when you and your colleague would have come in after after the winners. Yes, after the winners. Yeah. It's just very interesting to see that camaraderie that swimmers continue to have. So I wanted to mention to everybody, John, you have a number of books when you think about good ways to think about mental things and preparation and Olympian thinking and all of that. Could you share the titles of your books, please? Awaken the Olympian Within, right?
This is not a swimming manual.
No.
This is a collection of anecdotes by 28 different Olympians from 11 different Olympic sports. There are 4 swimming chapters in here. Rowdy Gaines, Nancy Hogshead, let's see who else. Anyway, myself and Brian Goodell wrote chapters in here. So that was one of the books. I'm not plugging the books because they're out of print. You can't buy them. This one is called Eureka, and it's the story of innovations throughout Olympic history. Who was the first swimmer to shave his legs and why? How did Dick Fosbury come up with the flop? What's the story of the shark suit, the swimming technology? Those are stories. And then my third one's coming out hopefully this year. It's a book full of Olympic trivia. And as you can tell, I love the Olympic movement. I'm a big Olympic fan, and I think that the stories are just as much fun as the facts. So my Olympic trivia is not all about facts, not who was the third person to break the minute, but rather why did they do this or stuff like that. So I love those kinds of stories, and be on the lookout. That one will probably be available for purchase on Amazon, and it'll likely be available in the new Olympic and Paralympic Museum that opened in Colorado Springs in July of 2020, in the middle of COVID.
I think once that book is out, John, we'll have to put it up on the Senior Games website, because I think that people would really like, to know about it. When we talk about innovations in swimming, I go back to going to work out at Fremont Hills, Daniela, and hardly being able to see with my eyes because somebody had superchlorinated the pool. And even though we were supposed to have practice for 2 hours at 5:30 in the morning, none of us could put our face in the water for longer than an hour. And so the whole addition of goggles, I think, has made the biggest change. I mean, I would even say more than the suits and all of that. Interval training and the goggles, I think, have really contributed to swimmers getting faster. I don't know, John, what do you think?
I got a C in a history paper in high school because I had to read it in front of the class, and I could not see it because of the chlorine in that morning's workout.
Yep.
Well,
I mean,
it was really bad.
And when I was in high school, I was always recognized by having red eyes and green hair from the chlorine. Danielle, you could probably relate to that as well. So I wanted to say one other thing, and then I'm going to go on to asking you all for some words of wisdom for people on the call. But you talked about breaststroke in Israel, that was what you learned to swim first. And so I swam in the Olympics against breaststrokers from Europe, and they were all really tall and really big and really, really, really good, because breaststroke was their first stroke. It wasn't big arms and side breathing and all of that. It was breaststroke. So anyhow, a little trivia from the US perspective. And the other little funny thing about breaststroke is that it was always a good stroke to have when you were swimming in a lake in California, which we did before we had 50-meter pools, because if you were allowed to do this and come up, you could see whether there were frogs that you might be swallowing or not. So that was always a good thing to be a breaststroker. So let's go now to, we talked a little bit about swimming training tips and where to find more, but any words of wisdom for people on the call, just that you've learned from swimming, Michael?
That I've learned from swimming. Oh, gee.
I know you talked a little bit about it when you were talking about your recovery from your heart situation and stuff, just about the ability to say, I can do this and repeat stuff and like that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that, you get into swimming. Lots of times, as John said, you'd rather swim with somebody. And I found lots of times just swimming laps, in practice, you look at the next faster lane, you say, well, can I keep up with them for a couple of laps? And I do. And then, well, here, I'll wait at the end of the pool and they can go on. It's something that somewhat I enjoy, but I also enjoy getting out of the water too. It's like, okay, I put my time in, time to get out. I can go have a cup of coffee with some friends and go on. You ought to be in a situation that you're going to enjoy. And that's one of the great things I found about Masters Swimming. It is usually just a great group of people to be with. I'm not just talking about the competition if you go to meets, it's just swimming with a great group of people. And that's the fun.
That for sure is true. And the other thing that I think I love about swimming is that it really teaches us that there is always another race. There's always another race. You could always do better, right? Danielle?
Right.
What about you? Words of wisdom.
I think it's, again, like what Michael said, I find that swimming, being in the water, surrounded by water, is just like meditation. Even that there are a few people in your lane and you have to do a certain distance and a certain time, just being in the water, the sound of the water, the color, the reflection of the sky, it just is so soothing. I also went through abdominal surgery and I thought this was it. I will never be able to swim again. And it took a few months till I wanted to go back. And once I was back, I just started with 2 laps and 4 laps and 10 laps and slowly build up again. And it was so wonderful to be able to do that. I was afraid I could never be where I was before with my times. And I worked so hard to get back that got even better. And so again, that was one of the first meets afterwards where I swam the 200 butterfly and broke a world record. It was for me just to show that where there's will, there's a way. Also, the master swimming brought me to so many different places in the world that I would not have been going to if not for swimming. In Australia, New Zealand, Morocco, Norway, really wonderful, and meeting people that now I'm looking forward to see them again on my next World Championship. And it's just really wonderful to be able to do that for a living. And when I can't swim, I feel myself very antsy. I do take daily walks of about 3 miles, and I stretch and I do what I can to keep myself going. But I take very long showers too to feel the water. But
it's not the water, right?
But it's nothing like being in the water and swimming. It is so wonderful that,
Yep, this is all definitely true. So
yeah.
Really fun to hear you guys talk about swimming. John, words of wisdom. You always have so many good words, so Pressure's
but I
on.
got some great stories.
Yeah, you do have great stories too.
So I went to the International Special Olympics as a celebrity. They have, Olympic champions hugging kids on the finish line, signing autographs, presenting awards. And in this year, 1985, in South Bend, Indiana, so many athletes and families showed up that they required credentials to allow you onto the field of play. My credential said John Neighbor, Olympic backstroker. And so I could go anywhere, and I'm, shaking hands and hugging kids and signing autographs. And a group of photographers have come over, and the flash bulbs are popping. And Eunice Kennedy Shriver walks over. She says, "John, do you know what's going on over there?" I said, "No." I said, "That's Miss America." "Really?" She says, "Have you ever met Miss America?" I said, "No, I haven't. Would you like to?" I said, "Yeah, I would." So she takes me over to meet Miss America. And the crowd parts, and Eunice says, "John Neighbor, this is Miss America, Miss America." And Miss America, with her diamond tiara and her satin sash, she reaches over to shake my hand, and she reads my credential. She says, "Oh, you're a backstroker." I said, "Yes." She goes, "They've asked me to be a hugger."
Oh my
So-
goodness.
So I'm so glad I didn't swim the breaststroke, I'll tell you. That would have been,
Oh goodness. Oh, good. That was not what I expected, but that is definitely a great story. Just a great story. So,
I just
Annie?
wanted to add something
Yes.
during COVID to what I've been doing. Susan Ingram, who's the coach in Texas, offered a walk through Texas, which is 801 miles. You can either swim it or you can walk it. So you accumulate your miles that you walk and swim, and it's 1 year that you can do it. And I just received my cap that is they send out for whoever joins that, and it is fish out of the water. And this
Oh,
is
what a great idea that is.
yeah. So you sign up, anybody can sign up, it's never too late. And she sends out cap and a medal of a walking fish and even a t-shirt to go along with it, which is really cute and gives you something to do.
Boy, kudos to them. I love that idea. So is that out of Master Swimmers Swimming in Texas, Daniela?
Yeah, Master Swimmers in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
that is real. I mean, what a great idea. I love
What
that.
a great idea.
That's great. Annie, we're going to go to questions now. There's several in the chat. Do you want to curate that, or you want me to do it? Up to you.
Why don't you start off with that while I try to figure out what I'm looking at here. There's a couple of observations and a couple of questions.
Okay, so let's start with Linda. When we get to Q&A, she says, "I have a question for John." So can we unmute Linda so she can speak?
Yeah, let me, okay, so what I've done is allow all the participants to unmute themselves, but
But
keep
they're not
yourself
going to talk
muted.
all at once, right?
Right, but keep yourself
Good.
keep yourself muted unless you're talking, but go ahead, Linda, and ask your question.
Okay, so John, I know that you work out because my spies are everywhere. I'm a satellite member for the Rose Bowl Masters. I live in Bakersfield, so I don't make the trek very often, particularly now. And this is a question that I've had for Olympic swimmers. Some, like Brian Goodell, Matt Biondi, occasionally swim at meets. I know Brian Goodell swam at Long Course Masters when it was at Mission Viejo. Hello. And why, and I don't mean to put you on the spot specifically, but why don't more former elite swimmers, when they're older, swim masters?
It is my opinion. I speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody else.
Right.
But
I'll
it is
speak
my
too.
it is my opinion that every Olympian I've ever met is competitive to the nth degree.
Right.
Everybody loves to win. Olympians hate to lose.
Right.
And as a result, in our later years, if we no longer think we can win, our hatred of losing trumps our desire to go swim. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'd like to have a conversation with you at some point about that, but
I understand it's irrational. I understand it's irrational. I said earlier, Olympians, or I like the social aspect of it. So come to a Masters meet, you'll see all your friends, you'll have a great time. I know that, I believe it to be true, but there's something about entering a race that I don't think I can win. If I don't have a shot to win, then that's my rationale. I love to
one
work
of the
out, but I just don't want to race.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I've seen is that when you look across the board, when you go to hate to lose or love to win, across the board, entire population, at 70% of the people love to win, 30% hate to lose. When they tested Olympians and that level, it's the other way around. It's the hate to lose. I used to swim with Dan Veach. Well, kind of. He was at the other end of the pool. And I was there, and he another backstroker, and he would swim free, but he wouldn't swim backstroke, just because he felt that everybody was after him, and he could feel more comfortable swimming freestyle than he did backstroke.
So can
You just have to swim long enough and outlive your competition, then then you
Yeah, well,
always win.
that's the advice as well. So I can add to that, John. I don't know that I've ever heard the whole Olympian thing described that way, but it totally makes a lot of sense because I retired when I was very young because there were no opportunities for females to swim in college. So there was no reason to go on to swim after high school. And all of our Olympic team retired because there were no opportunities. And so fast forward to, I was probably 25 or 26, and the city of Palo Alto was trying to justify keeping their pools open in the wintertime. And so they had a meeting, and I said, well, why don't you invite a Masters swim team to come in here? Masters had just started with Doc Ransom. I'm not so sure what year that was, but I want to say 74, Michael, maybe. Or
Around there, 72, 73.
something like that. And so Carol McPherson of Rinconada Masters and Tom Osborne of the Recreation Department and I, who had been swimming a little bit up at Fremont Hills with a master's program, decided to have, and Carol and Sydney created Rinconada Masters, which went on and on and on and on. And so we all went to a meet. And so we went to a meet at the College of San Mateo. And I think I won every event. It was terrible. I won every event in my age group because I was at the younger part of my age group. So I had all of these trophies and things that they gave away then. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with all of these? I don't really want them. And it wouldn't be nice to give them back. And so I just sort of set them aside and swam for a couple more years. And then I realized that every time I got in the pool and practice, that somebody was trying to beat me. It didn't matter what lane. I mean, it wasn't so well organized then, Michael, but every time I'd push off from the gutter, somebody would try to beat me. And I thought, well, this isn't a lot of fun because I have to watch out for not being beaten every time. So I changed, picked up running. I was the worst runner in the world. I was the last in every race, but I loved running because I could say, well, I'm running, it's really good for me, and I'm not swimming. So I don't know, maybe your logic makes lots of sense, John. I'm not sure. However, I have to tell you that when we swam I swam in the 200 breaststroke in the FINA World Championships, And I figured out a time that I maybe could do. And I started out and I was way behind. I was always the second 100 swimmer in the breaststroke. And I got such joy in going after the second 100. Somebody who was next to me and putting the heat on and getting to the end of the pool first before she did. I was thrilled. That didn't get me back into master swimming forever, but I so enjoyed getting in the pool and working out. And I have to say that when my husband was so sick and dying, that the idea of getting in the pool and swimming laps and having that zen going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth was so good for my mental health, and it continues to be. So there's my Ann Cribbs addition to the story of swimming. So
Right. I think one of the questions, Jane, your first question about being safe in the pool, I think we won't address that here because it's safe in the pool during COVID because of all of the different issues from where people are swimming. But your second question, will you say that it's always easier to maintain a discipline that's been established than to create it in the first place? I'm scared I won't be able to reestablish the discipline once I feel safe and get back to the pool. So what do any of you have to suggest about, well, I think John probably already covered that a little bit. Just put on your shoes and that takes you to the car, and get in the car and that takes you to the pool. Any other tricks for how to start from scratch again, basically, if that is starting from scratch?
Well, I had a similar experience from Mr. Moore, having had my aorta replaced, and
wow.
I had a lot of fear and trepidation when I went back to the pool. And my second day back, I did 1,600 yards. So,
Wow.
The first day
Wow.
back, I was like, okay, if I get my heart rate up, what's going to happen? So I kind of took it easy. And the next day I went in and I went, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it. And whatever. And I've been going strong ever since. So,
Where there's a will, there's a way.
yeah. And there's some days where I'm like John, it's just, okay, just act as if, and I go in and I'm going, I really don't want to do this. And I put on my suit. I really don't want to do this. I put on my swim parka. I really don't want to do, and I walk out the door, and I'm talking to myself the entire way. And then I get to the pool and I'm fine. So,
Yeah.
you just have to act as if.
I don't know if it's true in all pools, but in Pasadena, in addition to the distancing, they require everybody to take a shower before you jump in the water. I don't like taking showers because in this case, it's cold water. And a cold water shower at 7 in the morning, not too pleasant. But I did discover that if you take the cold shower, when you jump in the water feels a lot warmer.
Warmer, yeah.
So as they say, if you eat a live frog first thing every morning, nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day.
Also, just want to mention that in the chat, I think in response partly to Jane's question. So Chris Campbell writes, I log my times from meets. When I change age groups, I turn the page in the book and start with a blank page. Also, if you find yourself on a downhill slide, maybe it's time to change up your methodology. Since I can't really hammer in workouts anymore, I've had to shift my focus to technique. Also, you have to be realistic about your goals. And yes, Chris ends it by saying, that's tougher than it seems.
I'm glad you read that, Annie. I wonder if Chris wants to add anything.
Yeah.
I will add to that the best bit of advice I ever received from a coach, and Michael knows this person as well. One of my very early master's coaches and one who was tremendously influential was Mo Chambers. And I remember one
Oh.
time, when I started out, and this was a process, and it took me about 10 years to sort of make peace with my own mortality. I was getting older. I wasn't 19 years old anymore, and I would get very grouchy after a swim that wasn't just, really monstrous. And finally, Mo was yelling at me one day, and she said, "It's a stopwatch. It's not a judge of character." And I think that's a very important consideration here, is we cannot reduce the value of who we are and what we're doing to just mere numbers. Every swim that we do comes in a context. Maybe, one of those days, John is having trouble getting up in the morning. He just doesn't want to put his shoes on. That's okay. He's earned that right. And then, another day he may want to put on an extra pair of shoes and be really enthusiastic. It comes and it goes. And we have to sort of be at peace with that. And in a way, we have to kind of be nice to each other and be respectful of ourselves, because let's face it, we're not 19 years old anymore. In 10 days, I hit 60, and I'm, putting myself on the clock for a couple of these virtual swim meets right now. And it's like, I can sort of look at it and say, yeah, I'd be happy if those were long course meter times, but I'm doing them in a yards pool. And it's like, yeah, but, so it's one step at a time.
Well,
Chris?
and I just said that Karen joins in by saying, just sign up for the meet, then you have something that you have to do. And that's a great way to get back. And I'll just mention for senior games, I've talked to a lot of the swimmers that come in the novice category, and they say that that's what helped them train, that they had signed up for the games, they'd signed up for a meet, they had something to work towards, and that was really helpful for them. So there's a question from Beatrice: where in Orange County is there a master's group, and how do they find out about masters swimming?
So
go to
Michael,
US
that's to you.
Well, you go to usms.org and you put in your zip code, and you will find the local Masters Swim Committee, which for Orange County would be Southern SPMS.org, I think is what it is, Southern Pacific Masters Swimming. And there's a whole group of people down there, whether you're in Long Beach let's see, they're Orange County, I think. There's Mission Viejo has a great group. Mark Moore is the head coach down there.
Mhm.
There are, if you go to usms.org, and you can find the local swim teams there.
Great. Well, Annie, we are at the top of the hour, and I want to tell everybody that I have sure enjoyed listening to all of you and hearing questions and being inspired again about being a swimmer. I'm going to ask one more time if anybody, if there are any other questions, put them in the chat. And in the meantime, last words, Daniela. And then we'll go to John and then Michael.
I'm really looking forward to getting back into the pool with normal workouts, daily workouts, and competition. I have received both of my vaccines. I feel I'm good to go, and I can't wait. The postal meets that we have now, I cannot do them because I'm swimming a 50-meter pool, and all the requirements are usually for 25 meters or yards, so it's hard to do them. And when the team that I'm swimming with is not doing the hour swim, I cannot do it by myself because I'm limited to what's available. So,
well, we're almost out of this whole thing, I think. Everybody's getting vaccinated and times are looking up, I'm sure. So, John?
yeah. Well,
I've been asking everybody that I know who swims, have you ever heard in the last 12, 14 months, a single instance where it was proven that a swimmer got COVID at the pool?
No.
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 I think swimming is one of the safest places you can be. probably safer than going for a jog. And if you're safe and you want to exercise, that's the great place to go. And you know what? Swimmers, in my experience, are nicer people than any other sport.
Yay.
I think we are, John. I
Yes,
think
it's
you're, I
amazing.
think you're right.
As a backstroker, I'll stroke my back on that one.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait a minute, I'll take you up on that one.
Also,
Michael?
sorry, I just really quickly wanted to mention, John, if you weren't looking at the chat, there is a little note to you that fight on from a fellow USC alum, class of 1973. This is Wen's. My childhood friend, John McAuliffe, swam at SC with you. He has great stories to tell and admires you to the hilt. God bless, and so great that you're here today. So there, just wanted to make sure you saw that.
Michael, last thoughts.
Last thought is, as John said, every day, put your shoes on and go. Have fun. There's all sorts of teams that are out there. Go to a group that you're going to. It's important that you're there the first day, but you got to be there second day. You got to be there the next day after that, and maybe set a goal. If you swim the senior games, see when the meet is, and swim an event. Maybe it's an event you've never swum before, and go out there and have fun. And that, I think, is the most important thing. That you swim as often as you can and have fun.
Well, thank you. And thanks to all
Yeah.
of you. I think we do this round of applause. And Annie, do you want to close it out? But thank you, everybody.
Okay, I'm just
you.
gonna
That was fun.
remove, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Daniela. Did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. That was a wonderful opportunity to see swimmers and get some mental swimming tips back, and hopefully we can all be back in the pool in competition.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just really want to thank all of you. I am not yet, shall we say, an athlete. And I find it all really inspiring and things that I can use just to put my shoes on and get out to the car, just to move step by step. And for those of you who have been not swimmers and thinking of swimming, the same, I'll just tell you my thought last year is novice swimming senior games, 25 yards, once across the width of the pool.
That's right.
Anyone can do. And I looked at that and I went, I can be the slowest person in the world, and I know I can make it once across the width of the pool. And then once I do that, I can swim a 50-yard. So
That
there's
takes time.
always an entry level for everybody. Not all of us will become Olympians and world champions and break records, but it's so inspiring. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Anne, for moderating. Really appreciate everything you bring to this. And thank you all for spending your time with us and giving us these wonderful thoughts to move forward with. So
Thank you. See you at the pool.
I don't know if I can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
can.
You can hear me. I just want to thank you people for doing it. It's very nice. We need some encouragement right now.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and senior games are really great. They're very friendly, and it's wonderful to be part of that. Thank you, Anne, for running it here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You
Right,
know, if
thank
Mo
you.
can get up 4 days a week and swim at the age of 99, none of us have an excuse not to.
There you go.
Hey.
Except you can't find.
Okay, good night.
All right. Good night,
everybody.
everybody. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It
Thank
was.
you very much.
Okay.